Hello, faceting friends. Today we've got a brand new project to get into. This may look familiar to you if you saw my other video where I restored this early 1900s gem cutting bench back to its original beautiful wood. And now I've picked up another one of these beautiful old benches that's a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, and I've got some more interesting plans for it. So this adventure begins a couple months ago when we discovered this antique lapidary bench in a barn for sale up in the Jura. And I saw the table was in good condition, it had the drawers, it had some little features that I was lacking in my previous restoration project, and I really wanted it, and also the price was right. We took it back home to Lyon. So the original bench that I restored has become my main workstation for my Frolap jam peg machine. I've really enjoyed sitting here working on this beautiful desk, but I had more ambitious ideas that I wanted to do, and that's where this new one comes in. First of all, you can see the big difference is we've got these two little drawers, and this is the thing that I was really wanting from the other one that it didn't have, was drawers. So we've got the drawers now, we found the bench, and this one I'm gonna customize and make my ultimate dream. So the first and most important thing that I'm planning to do is in the place where the Frolap sits, which is gonna be around here, I want to actually cut a hole into the bench top and drop the machine down so that the base plate, it's gonna sit flush with the top of the bench. This is gonna help my posture and improve any back pain issues that I get sometimes just from the angle that I have to sit because of the height of the machine. So that's the first big thing. Secondly, and this is great for this machine, I'm planning to make a little bit more room for my legs. Now, since this is made for a hand crank that normally goes right here, we've got the bottom area where the spindle sits, and then the lap sits here, and the bottom of that spindle comes down and hits this thing. Now, since I'm not using this as a hand crank machine, I don't actually need these two pieces. Now, in the old machine, it was so beautiful and there's so much nice decorative stuff, I just couldn't bring myself to butcher the machine. But this one was a bit cheaper, it's in a bit worse condition, and it's a bit differently designed, and I feel a little bit more comfortable to do this. So my first goal, or my first mission here, is to get it all cleaned up. So I'm gonna vacuum the whole thing, wash it, and then take all the hardware off. So I wanna remove this piece, I wanna remove this piece, and then start to take off the bits that I don't want. So hopefully I'm gonna be able to slide this out. But in my old one, it wasn't possible. So if those things are too stuck or they're painted closed, then I will simply saw it. Same with this one. So just make more legroom area. And I love the design of this bench because the rest of it's all open. You see on the old one, there's a third thing going across here that could theoretically hit my shins. This one doesn't have it. So once these two pieces are out, it's totally open for my legs to fit under here. The height of the desk is perfect. But before I do anything, I'd like to figure out where actually the Frolap is going to sit for ultimate posture, because once I make this choice, I obviously can't go back. And so I've already decided that the back of the machine is gonna line up with the back of this hole. When I had this desk in the Jura this weekend, I sat with another gem cutter and we figured out back and forth where's the optimum place for the machine gonna be as far as arm reach. So if we pull this over here, the only other decision we have to make is how far left and right we want to go. Now I've already decided that I don't want to go all the way to the edge here. This can go a little bit further because my knee might be hitting the edge of the table here. So I know that I want to come over just a little bit, and I'm glad now that someone has cut this piece off because the Frolap obviously wouldn't fit inside this area in the way that it did on that machine. So we have to figure out where exactly it's going to go, mark it, and then clean it up, and then I can actually start to saw the hole. The hole has been cut. It looks pretty cool. So you can see that I've got a pretty nice surface here, but I'm not totally ready. The hole's cut, the paint's been removed, and now it's time to get the Frolap machine ready for its transformation. In order to protect the metal and also camouflage it into the base, I'm having it powder coated. I biked 45 minutes across the city to the powder coating company. It's going to take about 8 days for the powder coating company to be finished working on that, so I've got lots of stuff to take up my time in the meantime, like getting all of the paint out of the nooks and crannies and then staining and finishing everything else. Just like my last restoration, after I finish staining, it looks super red, but I know that the steps that come after this are going to make it more subtle and deepen the color into the wood, and the shellac is the first step in doing that. So now you can see the red isn't so vibrant, but it's more deeply into the wood. It's into the texture and the details of the wood, and it's time to do the final step, which is 5 coats of wax. This protects the wood and the shellac from any alcohol that I might spill on here while I'm going through my cutting process. And this also just gives the wood a really nice, smooth, matte shine, which I really love the effect of in my previous restoration. So here we can see how nice does it look. I've got lots of that old historic detail, which I definitely wanted to preserve, but it looks clean and smooth, and it even smells nice. It's back to the powder coating place so that I could pick this baby up in its brand new color scheme. Can't wait to get this open and see how it looks. Oh yes, it looks so cool. It looks so good. And the color matching is very nice. So once I put this all back together, it's gonna be something like this. It's gonna look really good. And I'm excited to put it all back together. I was a little worried that maybe the parts of the Frolap wouldn't go back onto the base plate because the holes had powder coating inside, but actually all the screws fit in perfectly. All the threaded screws were protected by the company, so I didn't have to worry about those. All I had to do was remember, how do I actually put this back together? And it took me a couple of tries in some of the parts to get everything correct, but in the end, it all came back perfectly, and it looks so cool in this new brown color. And also the aluminum, which was raw before, is now protected against stains and tarnish. Finally, I need to redo all of the wiring because I cut the power wires whenever I took it apart. So let's do that. So originally the power cable came out of this hole so you could attach the power jack here, but I don't want it to be on the outside anymore. So I have re-soldered the cable and then added these little clips, so as this pulls down, there's no tension on the motor. It's all being taken up by those two little things. And this will go straight down into the power jack down there. And now the most exciting moment of all, putting it all together and seeing how it fits. The final reveal. The entire project is finished. The legs have been repainted, the top's been stripped, stained, shellacked, and waxed. All the hardware has been removed. I've cut a hole here and had the whole machine powder coated to match. Drop that down. Everything works. I've got my little accessory jar here. This is an old match striker. I've got my mechanical sticks nicely fixed to the wall with easy access. A couple of magnification devices, my laps, and then a tidy little area over here with alcohol, diamond slurry stuff, miscellaneous tools, and my Frolap preformer. I've got my angle inclinometer, a couple little jars for alcohol, my doping station, the notes area, a couple more jars for my two different slurry grits. And then since I couldn't get this thing to come out, this is what originally held on the original lap, I've just zip tied my lamp to it, and it creates a very nice, stable, balanced way to attach the light. And then the beautiful drawers. This one I have easy access to where I can keep my rough. And this one's a bit blocked by my water container, so if I want to get in there, I have to pull this off. So I'm only gonna put things in here that I'm gonna keep long-term. Accessory screws, extra materials, and maybe some practice stones that I've already finished. I've got my tabler here, and if I need to spin around easily, I can drop that on there and spin. So back here, I've got an extra little bit of diamond powder and a vintage wooden box that holds my cams for my preformer. And this thing is looking beautiful. I think the only thing that I really want to do to the existing setup is to plug this hole. This was the hole that originally this bolt went into. I decided to drill a new hole here because in my research about posture and good positions, I realized that I wanted the jam peg to be more straight across. But in order to do that, I needed to be able to push the jam peg farther forward than it could actually fit. Because if I have it straight across with the original hole, then the stone is actually lined up in the middle of the lap, and I need it to be lined up with the outside of the lap. So bringing that hole forward just this much meant that I could position this exactly where I wanted it to be for great hand position that should be very comfortable. Under here, I've got the power box sitting there. I've got the cables wrapped and tidy, and everything is nice. You can see my power cord that's going to the machine just hangs, and the tension is held here instead of being held by the motor. So that plan really worked out. One other new thing that I'm planning to try, and you might have noticed this little clothespin here. So this is holding a little sponge from the kitchen. This is a trick that I learned from my friend Aurelie in the Jura whenever I took the class with her last time. So she was telling me if I keep this sponge right here and just let the water drip on here, this will keep this whole lap wet without any splash. And this is similar to what I've seen Ken Harrington doing in England, where he actually has a water bucket here with basically a toilet or paper towel roll just sticking out of it and a couple pieces of paper trailing on the lap. So as the lap spins, it just keeps everything damp without any drip or splash. So this is something new that I want to try out. I also took some of these felt furniture pad things and put them underneath of the bottom of the base so I'll be able to move the machine without scratching up the floor. The last thing that I need to do is to cover up this hole, and I've got a round brass plate coming that I can just put right on top of this and hide it in the same way that I did the other one. Another thing that I'm planning to do with this bench is try out a brand new polishing lap. So I was able to buy some lap blanks from Ken Harrington and the Salamander Gems team in Ipswich, England. So these are the same exact tin lead laps that they use, but I had Alan Lindbergh in Oregon grind them down, give me a hole, make the flat surface, and give me something that I can put onto this machine. So this is the first Salamander Gems British lap that has actually been made for a 6-inch machine, which is pretty cool. So I'm very excited to give this a try because every time I've gone to Ken's, I've always been super impressed with how great their laps polish. So looking forward to trying that out too. So here's the final look. What do you think? Did I do the right thing by chopping up an ancient machine and repurposing it into something beautiful and usable? Or did I totally destroy an antique? Let me know in the comments. Now check out my new bench versus my old bench and look how much taller the Fra lap is and how much higher I have to have my arm. If you're enjoying all of these adventures that I've been going on and projects that I've been doing and stones that I've been cutting right here on YouTube, feel free to support this channel via the Patreon. You can find a link below. For $3 a month, you're going to get a brand new podcast every 2 weeks, as well as the satisfaction of knowing that you're keeping this channel going on for free forever. This has been Justin K. Prim with the Gem Cutter's Craft. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure, and I'll see you next time right here.